Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome back to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 20 playthrough with the Phillies. And as the title indicates, we are into the offseason. We lost another World Series in 6 games, this time to Cleveland. I recorded the last game, and it turned out to be a pretty good game, actually. We were down 7-1, managed to tie it at 7, and we went into extra innings before our bullpen just ran out of gas, and we lost it in the bottom of the 13th, I think, on a walk-off home run. But I decided just to move ahead because I'm really anxious and eager to get started on the next season. I don't know if you guys just would really be interested in watching us lose another playoff game anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and get started into next season. I mean, we've had a good run. We've won the National League East 3 times in a row. We've gotten to back-to-back World Series, but I really want to close out this career with a World Series win. And so I'm going to be focused on what are the pieces I need to pick up to get this team back to the World Series and to win it this time. And so this episode, I'll look at the off-season or end-of-season awards first off, and then we'll look at the team, look at a couple moves that we've already made, look at arbitration, and then start on free agency and see what's out there and what we can possibly pick up. So first thing, let's look at the award seasons, or the end-of-season awards, starting with fielders, Gold Glove winners. In the American League, I don't see any names there that I recognize, although Ben Dooley, who we faced in Cleveland, young guy, 23, looks like he's going to be a close to superstar in this league with those ratings. And then in the National League, surprisingly, I don't know what's getting it for him, but Zach Thompson has won this award now 2 years in a row, both years that he's been in the majors. I know his position rating is really strong, so maybe that's what's doing it. But at least he's getting some notice, so that's good. Suzuki won at first base for Arizona. This guy's been a great player. But another thing that is kind of interesting, this is Wally Kuhn, who's 37. He won the award at third again, and I'm not sure why he keeps winning, but he is up to 11 total Gold Glove awards for his career. And he's, at this stage in his career, he's, I would think, just a so-so defensive player. I would think that there's got to be some better players out there than him. His zone rating was pretty high, though, so maybe that factored into it. But what a career in certain aspects when you just look at that Gold Glove award lineup. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I don't know if I've seen a guy win that many awards in a playthrough. He's already up to 57 wins above replacement for his career. He's probably going to get some notice when he gets eligible for the Hall of Fame. And then reliever of the year went to Mike Tanner in Kansas City in the American League. None of these other guys I'm really familiar with. In the National League, we did get a runner-up in Hadakiyama, but it went to Chris Nichols. I guess low ERA, high number of saves, but in all honesty, I think Hadakiyama had a better year. He didn't have the save totals, but he had a better ERA, a better wins above replacement. So it was his first year. Maybe he'll get it next year. And then the Platinum Stick Award winners, which is, I guess, comparable to the Silver Slugger. American League, Granda had a monster year, 59 home runs. He got it at first. Jeremy Dahl, guy who hit 400 last season, he got the award at left field. And then for the National League, another kind of couple surprises. One, Ian Norman won the award at catcher. I don't know why. 9 home runs, 42 RBIs, 300 average. His on base and slugging, or at least his on base and average is okay, but I'm surprised that he would get that award. Another surprise was Brandon Kinsler Jr. got the nod at third base. He hit 263, which is one of his lower averages for his career, but did manage 30 home runs, a 4+ wins above replacement. This guy's a free agent. I don't know if anybody's going to pick him up. I imagine they will. I just don't know how much juice is left. You know, for instance, is he going to get to 3,000 hits, 700 home runs? If he signs for another year or two, I think that's a possibility. Certainly 700 home runs, but he's already had Hall of Fame career. I don't know if there's anything left for him to accomplish, except maybe a World Series winner, which he's done a couple times already in his career. So he should probably be about ready to hang it up. Rookie of the Year went to Armenta in Chicago. Had a pretty decent year. There were some good choices there in the American League. In the National League, though, we did get a couple guys here. Pritchard and Hadakiyama got votes. It went to Halfman from Washington. He did have a pretty good year. I think Padilla had a good year too. Could give him the nod. I don't know. Of those two, I think with Padilla's power and walks, I think he probably was a better player overall. And then best manager went to Cleveland's manager, and once again, for the second time in a row, we got the nod. Manager of the Year, I got the nod. So well deserved. I've only hung in there until I'm 72 to get this award, but it's nice. I wish we could win the World Series, though, of course. And then Cy Young went to Mike Kearney in the American League for the Yankees. And Zunza, he's a guy who's been around for a while. He got second place. And then in the National League, Burnham, who was a Rookie of the Year last year, he wound up getting it. He had a pretty dominant year as a pitcher. 17 wins to lead the league, led in ERA and wins above replacement. But Pete Parker was runner-up. And until I saw this award, I didn't realize just how good of a season he had. I mean, he could have picked up a couple more wins. That would have been nice. But a 6-point wins above replacement. He did really have the kind of year I was hoping I'd get from him when I traded for him. So that was good to see. And then lastly, MVPs, Grandin, no doubt, in the American League. Home runs, RBIs, hit for high average, 9.7 wins above replacement. And then in the National League, Joe Howard, again, no doubt. This guy had one of the better seasons I've seen compared in terms of like what the rest of the league's doing with that 10.9 wins above replacement, led in quite a few categories. I think he definitely deserved it. But we got some nods here that I was kind of surprised about. Pete Parker got some votes. Gutierrez got some votes. And Ian Norman even got some votes. So at least we got some recognition there. That was nice to see. But that kind of leads us to the next thing. We'll look at salary arbitration first, and then I'll look at a couple moves that we've already made. We had some guys here like Contreras and Dion. I think we did pretty good. I think Contreras, I've got him as a reliever now. He could still fit in that starting rotation. Dion, not too bad. I'm going to keep him. I think my hope is if McAvee comes back healthy, Ken Dion's probably going to be that fifth starter in the rotation, and I think he'll do good there. Some other guys, Condeshera, Barbarossa, Paris, a new guy I'll talk about, Gutierrez and Warlick. They got quite a bit more money in total than I was hoping to see, so it left us a little thin in terms of what we've got for free agency. But we did make a couple of trades. We got rid of an outfielder in that kind of a jumbled up outfield, really, who was wanting $2+ million. And with some guys that I've got coming up in the minors, like George is about ready, I think, to get some look anyway in spring training. And then we got Benefield, Villalobos. Those guys could, if not start, they could definitely get play time. I didn't think he was worth $2 million, so I traded for him, or traded him away, and shopping him around, I was able to pick up what I think is a good-looking reliever. This guy could be a setup guy. Had a great year with Arizona last year. Still got 2 years before he reaches arbitration. A lot of control left, so I like this trade. I think the big areas I gotta improve in the offseason are the bullpen, first base. I think Tupper is just not, even though he led the team in home runs and RBIs, he is not a full-time starter, or at least not on this team. We need somebody better. And one of the things that hurt him, he made some costly errors in the playoffs. Cost us a game, really, with an error against Arizona, even though we came back and won it. In the World Series, he made a couple big errors that hurt us. So I was ready to move on from him. My owner was even saying, "Hey, you gotta upgrade it first." So that with that in mind, I made another trade, and the trade was what I talked about in the last couple episodes. It was time to get rid of Ian Norman. Even though he's getting a lot of those awards, he was going to be getting at least $15 million in arbitration, and he's just not worth it. I hope that this doesn't come back to bite me. It could be one of those situations where it's just that he's worth it relative to the rest of the catchers in the league. But this is a guy I traded for, and let me just look at Norman to see, just kind of show you what I'm talking about. This guy has great ratings potentially offensively, and I say potentially because I've just never seen it. He's 5-star for my scout and OSA, but he's poor defensively. A lot of times in the playoffs I saw playing out games, he very rarely threw out a runner. Some teams, if they got speed, could just run on us at will. And despite being a three-time All-Star, an MVP last season in the League Championship Series, and that Platinum Stick Award winner this season, I just cannot figure out where his offensive production is. He doesn't hit a lot of doubles. Just 23 last year. He's very slow in the base paths. 9 home runs is his career high. With that rating, I would think he would at least see maybe a few seasons with 15-plus home runs. He's never gotten double digits in home runs. He doesn't score a lot of runs. He doesn't drive in a lot of runs. I mean, barely for his career, and he's been a starter for the last 4 seasons. He hasn't even driven on 200 RBIs. So despite those ratings and the wins above replacement, I just think this guy is not worth almost $16 million. Probably, I would expect he's going to get $20+ million once he becomes a free agent. He's just not worth it. And so I traded for Paris because I think Paris is definitely an upgrade at first. He gives me good contact and power, great offensive numbers, coming off a really solid year last year. Hit 340, doesn't strike out a lot, considering that he is a power first baseman. And I'm going to have him for a couple more years, which is, about what I've got left if you factor in the age I'm going to retire. So I want to win now. I think that was the right move. Quartang could go in a pinch, but that leaves me thin at catcher, I know. So I've got the first base situation picked up or taken care of. So now what I'm really looking at as we go into free agency, I got to improve at second. That's a big question mark. Might pick up 1 or 2, depends on what's available and how much money I have left. Bullpen guys. I don't know about the outfield. If there's somebody I can work up a trade with, I might do it, but I might be ready to do a platoon situation with Benefields getting the start against righties at center, and Villalobos getting the starts. Maybe, well, he's not too good against lefties. So George is also a lefty. All right, so there's going to be some mixing and matching here, I guess, but I think outfield I would like to improve, but it's probably going to be the last on that list. So it's going to be second base, catcher, bullpen. is pretty much the goal going into the season or off season, is to improve those positions. I do have Radeball, who I played a little bit in the majors last year when I had some injuries before I picked up Koopman. And considering he'd never played above Double-A, he looked pretty good. I'm going to give him a look in spring training. He might possibly win it just by process of elimination if I can't pick up anybody in free agency. But hopefully we'll have somebody out there, surely. I'm not going to be able to, if you look at the money available, I'm not going to be able to make a big signing. I've got $25 million available, but I really like to keep around 10 or so available going into the season, just in case of injuries. So that's, I think that's enough to get maybe a good, hopefully defensive, average offensive catcher, maybe one more good bullpen guy, and just an average second baseman who can start. That's probably the money that I've got available, unless I can work up a trade, and I may do that around the trading when we get into the winter meetings. Another thing I wanted to do, though, probably one of the most unrealistic parts of this playthrough is I think Philadelphia started out with a low market size. Well, finally, we have scrapped our way up to average. We made the jump from, I think, below average to average this offseason. I think where that really comes into play is with, like, media, your local media revenue, merchandising maybe. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to pick up, local media is already going up $5 million. So I think that's basically, when you make the jump in market size, that's primarily where you're going to get the boost. So we're going to pick up $5 million there next season, but I'm going to make a little bit of a change here to ticket prices. We had 43,000 per game last year. We're coming off the two World Series appearances. Surely I can go up 50 cents. And ticket prices are something you can only do in the off season. But I'm thinking 50 cents. Let's say we do average 40,000 a game. That's an extra $200,000 a game. That's about 1.6 million or so extra a year. Hey, it might help us out next off season if we need it. So that was one thing I was going to do, and I think that's pretty much it before I start looking at what's available in free agency. So the big thing, it's got to be pitching wise. How is McAfee going to come back? He's a 4-star pitcher for my scout and OSA, but I don't think the injury, he's missed 2 years almost 2 full seasons to injury. I don't think that's playing into that rating yet. And so the big fear I have is he's going to come off the DL and his ratings are going to be like 2.5 stars, 2-star pitcher. I don't think he's going to keep the ratings that he's at now, but I'm still going to make a gamble here because if he can't do it, I still think we've got 5 guys we can start here in Thompson, Parker, Barbarossa, Dion, and then moving Alvarado or Contreras, back to the rotation. So I'm not going to go for starters, but I'm going to see what's out there with the bullpen and second base, but the catcher too. But the first thing I want to do, Tupper, I'm going to see if there's a market for this guy. He has been, the average is low, but he does give you production. He's a healthy starter. He's durable. I mean, he gave us 160 games last year, career 272 home runs, and he's only signed for $3.6 million next year. So I'm going to hope that I can trade away this guy and get something for him. And I I just like shopping players around. I don't like tweaking too much when it comes to the trades. The only time I really play too much with the trading is when I do maybe prospect trades or multiplayer trades. So, as I feared, this is probably what we're going to get. We're going to get a lot of high contract, low rated players, probably guys who are in the tail end of their own careers, really. I mean, catcher I do need. So let me see what we got. Center field. This guy offensively is pretty good. I don't like that defense, though. I think that would bring me back to the days of Vargas, who was a good offensive player for us, but terrible defense. But here's Eric Grove, terrible defensive catcher. Mike Swan, he's a former Philly. It looks like his ratings have taken a big dip. But Wally Kuhn, Isabel, another bad defensive catcher. Herrera, who can play third base but no other position. Jim Green, no. Man, not a whole lot for him, which is, I guess to be expected. This is a pretty decent starting pitcher, but that's a little bit higher than I want to go in the contract. So I'm not really seeing anything that would help me out here. This guy's another starter. So I may be forced to eat his contract because I don't want to go in the hole here on a mediocre player. I don't want to get in a lopsided salary trade because these teams are trying to dump these guys. And I can stand paying Tupper just $3.6 million to have him ride the bench if it comes down to it. So, fortunately, that's not going to work out. I was hoping it would. In terms of any other trade prospects, man. I mean, Romero. Would anyone pick up Romero here? Let me try. He is not a bad utility player, but he's getting up there in age. I mean, he's never going to develop into a starter. Now, if I could get a decent reliever who's got some team control, I might think about that. But looks like probably not going to get that. Well, here's one. Chris Kist. He's fragile, and I don't really like some of his ratings there. Nate Waters. He is not too bad, but I think there's probably going to be some better ones in free agency. And Minnesota really trying to get rid of Eric Grove here. That's a terrible contract. Juan Delgado, so outfielder. Jared Trump, $22 million. I mean, this is the kind of catcher really that looks like similar in ratings and numbers to Ian Norman. And just to give you an idea, this guy's making $22.6 million. And he's had that kind of a career. Very similar in some respects to Ian Norman. I don't understand. I think catcher has just gotten really lopsided in this playthrough. And I'm still seeing nothing that really is going to help us out here. So getting a lot of the same offers as I got for Tupper. So it looks like, a lot of teams are just trying to do some salary dumps here. Now I could try Ings, who is really, not that bad. I mean, he's the kind of pitcher who could really fill in if you've got some injuries. But I'm not sure that I'm going to get much better in offers, but we'll see. And it looks like a lot of the same players. Certainly the same type of players. Salcedo. I mean, catching is just really a tough position to fill right now. I think I've already looked at Isabel. He's poor defensively. All right, so nothing there. I think it's we're gonna have to go to free agency here, and I think I'm gonna start out really at second because I feel like Quartan can start if it has to come down to that. So let's see what we got at second. Steve Bond is listed at second. Steve Bond was a guy I tried to re-sign because he had such a great offseason. But he was wanting upwards of $5 million, and at his age, 35, he's going to be 36 next season. I can't see him giving you much more than like he did last season, two-thirds of a season. He's probably going to be injured here and there, and I was looking more in the line of between $2.5 to $3 million for maybe a couple seasons or at least a year, and he just wouldn't do it. Maybe later in free agency, if he's still out there, he will be willing to renegotiate. Now, Pat Dowdy is a guy I would not mind picking this guy up. He is a former Philly he was a prospect I traded away before he really started developing, and he just had a great run with Cincinnati. He was a few times an All-Star, but he's already up to 2,200 hits for his career. He doesn't give you a lot of power, but he does have, I think, he doesn't have decent speed, but his defense is pretty decent, and he's going to get on base for sure. Hits a lot of doubles. So if he would go for a year, and he's not. He's wanting a long-term contract. Let me see if he would do 2 years. Just to throw it out there at, let's say, 8.25 with a player option. Oh, get rid of 1-0. Now he's coming down a little bit in terms of the contract. Let me see if we go 3 years. All right, so he's willing to look at that, so that would help me out. Now going back to who was available at second, let me double check. Ma is just he's going to be out of my price range, but he's too old. And another former Philly he was an international free agent, won the Rookie of the Year, had a great start to the season, but his defense is terrible, and I think he might fit with as DH somewhere in the American League, but I don't think he's worth a gamble. I really think if I can get Dowdy for that money, that was the best second baseman available. He would really help the team. So now catcher, slim pickings here for sure. I think I've looked at this already, and I think it was Guptill, maybe. Yeah, Guptill I had looked at. He is fragile, but his defense is really good, and Offensively, he's the same, both lefty and righty. I really think he's serviceable. He's definitely a kind of guy you could have come off the bench as a defensive replacement. Um, if Quartang gets most of the starts, then I could have this guy starting maybe every fourth game or so, and that would help us out. I think. If I look at his career, he's never really hit above, say, 260. 309 when he was really young coming into the league. I know he's not going to give us much offensively, but he's definitely, I think, one of the best backup type catchers available. Here's another one who's not too bad. He's got a great personality ratings. Has been a starter for most of his career at Toronto, but offensively he is kind of a stinker. So I am going to go with Guptill here because I like his defense mostly, and I'll just meet his demand for a year and see if he takes me up on that. So that's got catcher in second. We took care of first base with the trade. So now let's see what outfielders are out there. This is an international guy who came up. I mean, he would be a good guy to have in that in center, but Esteban Miranda, poor defense. Ken Keith, wrecked. Brad Evans, poor defense. It's really hard to find everything you're looking for. Josh Jowett, he's fragile. I don't think I need him. Eric Lewis. I don't think I need him at right field. Kurt Ogilvy could play center and right, but he's wrecked. Man, I think outfield has become a tough position to fill in this playthrough as well. So I'm not seeing anything there. I may have to go with what I've got, honestly, in the outfield. And worst case is maybe waiver wire or Rule 5 draft. I might find somebody who can surprise me, be a surprise pick. So let's go back to relievers now. And I'm looking for a guy like Chris Carroll, for instance, although he's wrecked and a little bit too old. Duford here. He's wanting to be the closer. I don't want to take Hadakiyama away from the closer, but now this guy, I think he would be okay in the bullpen. I think he would take just a regular bullpen role, it looks like. He's just expecting to be in the bullpen. So ratings against lefties is good, same as righties. One of the other things is I was wanting to see about a lefty specialist. Now Jackson's wanting to be a closer, so I don't really need that. Jim Allen against lefties, pretty good. And then Talbot Bettelcon. He just wants to be, he's fairly good against lefties. Dave Stark's out for a while. So let me first off, I'm going to make an offer for this guy. And $3.2 million for 2 years sounds good to me. And then I'm going to make an offer for this lefty down here, Jim Allen, in case I need him. Well, he dogs it too often. He's really good against lefties, though. I just don't, I'm a big believer in the ratings that the game uses for team chemistry. I think it plays a big part, and I don't want to throw a guy like that out there and have it impact our team chemistry. So now Murdoch Ings, for instance, against lefties, how's he? If I put him as a reliever, does that make a difference? You know what? I mean, in a pinch, he could work. I think he's better suited as a lefty than or as a reliever right now than a starter. But I think I still want to get somebody who can do. Man, Mac Joy, he's fragile. But does he really want to be closer? He expects to be closer. But he's got high adaptability. So, problem is I don't want to go 3 years with him. So let me move on from that one. So I had Jim Allen, Talbot, Bettel, Kahn. He just wants to be in the bullpen. He's a solid bullpen contributor. He doesn't have great control against lefties. Let me see about Mike Bonnet. Man, he's pretty old, but he says he's an Iron Man. Pretty decent against lefties. He's had a so-so career. Ramon Castro Jr. His movement kind of scares me. He does look decent against lefties. And Vince Herod. He's pretty good against lefties as well. Pat Hunt. It kind of leads me back to this where was he at? I think Jim Adult. Yeah. I mean, his lefty stuff is the best of these guys. He's just got that low work ethic that scares me a little bit. Let me see if Mike Jackson would take 2 years at $3.2 million. All right, he says he'll take it. I'll submit the offer, and that gets us back below $10 million available for free agents. I'm going to hold there for now, and that's where I'm going to end this episode. We're close again, I think. I think that first base pickup was really big. I think it more than makes up for losing Norman. I just can't imagine Norman being a player to that level. If we get Doughty, we might then have some room to trade some of these young second base prospects. So some things, to work out. But I think we're going to be a little bit better already. Again, McAfee's going to be healthy in a couple months. That's going to be the big decision maker, I think. How he comes off that DL, what his ratings are going to be like. But I'm going to work through the rest of the offseason, and we'll come back next episode in spring training and start looking at the new team and trying to make another run for it. Hopefully, 3's the charm in terms of World Series. Hopefully, if we make it again next year, we'll win it. But as always, thanks for watching and liking, subscribing, and I will see you next episode.